Welcome back to the Navy Sports Magazine. We're brought to you by our friends at the Navy Federal Credit Union. Yes, we're late into May, and we have Navy athletes that are still competing because they're doing great things. Time to talk to Braden Presser. And you threw a javelin almost 250 feet. How the heck does somebody do that?
A lot of hard work and practice. Got to thank my coaches and my teammates for pushing me every day, getting in the weight room with Rhett Warren every day over in Westby. But yeah, it's been a long season, and finally have a throw that I'm pretty proud of. So
I was going to say, let's talk about, you just mentioned a key factor here. What you do is so dependent on technique. The weightlifting aspect of it, though, has to be sensitive to the muscles and everything that you use in that technique. How do you come up with a plan with Coach Warren in that capacity to make sure it doesn't ruin what you and Coach Campbell are doing from a throwing perspective?
Yeah, well, they're always in communication. Coach Warren is awesome. Coach Campbell is awesome. They'll ask like how we're feeling today, like how our heavy squat lift on Monday, maybe like the legs are a little too much this week. We have a meet this week. Let's take it a little bit lighter on Thursday and Friday. So that constant communication, open communication between them two, and just like listening to athletes to make sure that we're performing the best we can.
I was going to say athletes that throw in any sport. We talk about it all the time. Nolan Ryan, a pitcher famous for riding a stationary bike for an hour after every one of his starts during the course of his career, and he still threw well into the 90s, at almost age 40. For you as a thrower, is it as much about building that leg power as a base for you right now? Because we know as a javelin, we see you throwing at the end of this thing, but where does that strong base come from that allows you to remain consistent?
Yeah, the javelin really starts on the ground. You have a 30, 40-meter run-up to produce that speed, and you have to have the connection from your feet to your hips to the arm to make everything work. And so that good, strong base in the weight room and working out with technique on Ingram is really where it starts.
You talk about the run-up. Is the run-up when things are going well for you almost a case of where it's just instinctual and you almost know your steps as you go along down the runway?
Yeah, so we practice all season starting in the fall, what our run-up will look like and what that technique looks like. And I say it a lot. People are like, oh, think about this when you throw, or coach will be like, maybe focus on this next time. But honestly, like in competition, I start running down the runway and I kind of black out. And I kind of come to when the throw's in the air and I'm like, oh, shoot, that was a good one. So, yeah, I would say, yeah, it's pretty instinctual. We work on it a lot, and so it ends up being that way.
There's no question that I would impale myself in the back of my head if I tried to throw a javelin. How does one learn that? Where did the impetus come for you to learn how to do this, and obviously now being able to excel at it at one of the greatest schools in the country and qualify for NCAAs?
So I've always been a thrower. My dad played baseball in college. He was a pitcher, and so I grew up from like age 4 or 5 throwing and being a pitcher. And so in high school, I kind of stepped away from baseball and found javelin. It became a sport in Missouri, where I'm from, my freshman year. And I was like, oh, this is super cool. At first, I was pretty terrible at it. I remember my first practice, I threw the javelin and did like a 360 backflip in the air and landed. And I was like, oh, man, I'm not good at this at all. But ended up doing pretty well that season, and then doing well enough through high school to get recruited here. I just fell in love with it. So
I was going to say, too, I mean, look, you're a guy with good size. You could have played just about any sport. Your physique, they would love to have you as a pitcher. But to go do something that a lot of other people aren't doing and excel at it, maybe is there a little extra sense of satisfaction that you chose to go your own path, something that you found that you liked and obviously were able to get a lot of great satisfaction out of it?
I think the thing for javelin for me is that a lot of team sports, especially, there's a lot of focus on the team, and track as well. But that when you hit one good throw, and like pitching is a little bit different, and basketball is a little bit different. I played football in high school too, and I never had the feeling like when I hit a really good throw, I hit a PR, just that adrenaline rush of like, oh my gosh, like that was it, that was the one. That's the feeling I chase every day. That's the feeling I think about when I work in the weight room and work on Ingram and doing practice throws. And when I was working outside yesterday and was pouring down rain, like that's when I want to do at nationals next week. So that's what it is for me. Yeah.
Mom and Dad competitive athletes in college themselves, what kind of influence did they give you and help you as a competitor growing up? Because at least they had a file for you to turn to as a competitive athlete. They understood what a competitive athlete was doing.
Yeah, so I was in organized sports starting at a really young age, basketball, baseball. I think I played soccer for a year or two when I was young. But they always told me, like, never to give up, like, find something that you love to do. And so going through all these different sports, I think I did wrestling one year because my grandpa did wrestling, just finding something that I loved and finding something that I love to do through physical activity was something they always emphasized. And so I found that now, and I'm really thankful for them for putting me in that position when I was young.
When you think about how many people compete in track and field, and the small number of people that are still left at this time of the year, does it make it all worth it? As you mentioned, working out in the rain yesterday and things of that nature, do you have a chance to look back on it and go, okay, this is why I do all of this, and you look around and it's just you and a very select few other people?
It's crazy to think. Coming into college, I was a very average javelin thrower freshman year. I wasn't sure if I was going to make the regional meet, and then ended up doing really well. It's sometimes I have to take a step back and think, like, holy crap, like I am going to this crazy meet with all these crazy good competitors. Like I met some of the javelin throwers down at Jacksonville last week, and like talking to them, like Ethan Dabbs and Mark Minicello, these 80+ meter guys that like I look up to and I hope to emulate. And it's been a wild ride. I'm glad I have this year and next season to continue what I'm doing.
All right, let's talk about Braden a little bit. Away from King Hall, you get a chance to choose one meal. What is Braden Presser's go-to meal?
I think the one thing, especially being here and so far away from home, is just some Kansas City barbecue. My dad makes amazing barbecue. There's just a ton of places in KC that I love to eat at, and almost every time I'm home, my dad makes a slab of ribs, and so that's something I always look forward to. And if I was on my deathbed, that's what I would want to have.
Dude, I'm sorry, everybody. I just made you incredibly hungry by doing that. Braden, appreciate the time. Best of luck this week as you continue to crush personal records, Navy records along the way. Go get yourself some NCAA hardware this week. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.